All right, before we jump in, just a quick heads up. This explainer is all about learning. It's not medical advice. So you'll definitely want to chat with a professional for any health decisions. Okay, with that said, let's get into it. We're going to talk about a silent battle that's happening inside millions of us right now. A fight you could be in the middle of and not even know it.
You know that feeling? That afternoon slump that hits you like a ton of bricks? Or maybe you get kind of irritable, or suddenly have this intense craving for something sweet that just pops up out of nowhere. We usually blame it on a bad night's sleep or just a stressful day, right? But what if the real culprit is something much deeper, something going on inside your actual cells?
Well, it turns out that exhaustion, that fatigue, it could be your body's way of telling you that it's secretly fighting itself. It's one of the very first warning signs of a condition called insulin resistance. And believe me, it is way more common than you think.
How common? Get this. Nearly half of all adults in the United States are dealing with this. 50%. I mean, think about that. This isn't some rare, obscure condition. It's a huge health crisis that usually starts silently, sometimes years before it ever turns into something more serious, like type 2 diabetes.
So, what is actually happening inside your body? To really get it, we're going to use a super simple analogy that makes everything click. We'll call it the sticky lock problem.
Okay, so when you eat, your food gets broken down into sugar, or glucose, and that goes into your bloodstream. That's your body's main fuel source. Now, to get that fuel out of your blood and into your cells where you can actually use it, your body needs a little helper called insulin. Just think of insulin as the key.
And if insulin is the key, then every single cell in your body is like a locked door. The insulin key is designed to fit perfectly into the lock on that door, opening it up so all that sugar can rush in from the bloodstream, giving the cell the energy it needs. It's a beautiful, perfect system, when it's working right.
And this brings us to a really important difference. With type 1 diabetes, the key factory, your pancreas, is basically shut down. It's not making any keys. But with insulin resistance, the factory is working overtime, pumping out tons and tons of keys. The problem isn't the number of keys. The problem is the lock itself. The lock on your cell door has gotten all sticky and gunked up, so even with all those keys, the door just won't open properly. And that means sugar gets trapped in your bloodstream.
So here's the bottom line. When that sugar can't get into your cells, it just builds up in your blood. And having all that extra sugar floating around starts to cause a whole lot of trouble over time. And the crazy part is, you often can't feel a thing.
You can almost think of high blood sugar as tiny little shards of glass rushing through your bloodstream. It starts to damage your blood vessels, which can harm your heart. It can mess with your nerve endings, and it can even lead to something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's this slow, creeping damage that's happening behind the scenes.
But while all that internal damage is silent, your body does try to send you some visible clues you can actually look for. Those high insulin levels can cause dark, kind of velvety patches of skin, usually on your neck or in your armpits. A sudden explosion of little skin tags can also be a sign. And then there's the big one, extra fat stored right around your belly.
Yeah, that belly fat is a really, really important clue. It's what's known as visceral fat, and it's a huge driver of insulin resistance. A key number to know is your waist size. For men, anything over 40 inches is a big risk factor. For women, it's over 35 inches. It's a super simple measurement you can do at home, and it tells you a lot.
Okay, so you've got the physical clues down. But to really see the whole picture, you've got to look under the hood. There are two really simple blood tests you can talk to your doctor about that will give you a crystal clear idea of what's going on.
The first one is called a fasting blood sugar test. It just measures how much glucose is in your blood after you haven't eaten for at least 8 hours. It's like taking a single snapshot of how your body is handling sugar when it's at rest.
So what are you looking for? Ideally, you want that number to be under 100. If it's somewhere between 100 and 125, that's considered pre-diabetes, which is basically just insulin resistance that's a little further along.
Now, the second test is called the hemoglobin A1C, and this one is different. Instead of just a snapshot, this test gives you your average blood sugar level over the last 3 months. It's a much, much better way to see the big picture of your long-term blood sugar control.
For your A1C, the sweet spot is below 5.7%. Just knowing these two numbers gives you and your doctor so much power to see what's really happening and, more importantly, to do something about it. Now, I know this can all sound pretty serious, but here's the best part. The really good news, insulin resistance is often completely reversible. You have the power to fix that sticky lock, and it really comes down to focusing on 3 key areas. We're going to call these the 3 pillars of reversal: some simple diet hacks, movement, and a good old lifestyle tune-up. And look, this isn't about being perfect. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up to a huge impact.
Let's start with a diet hack that is so simple but so powerful: food sequencing. Seriously, you can eat the exact same meal, but by changing the order you eat your food in, you can totally flatten that blood sugar spike. You start with fiber from your veggies, then your protein and fat, and you save the starchy stuff, the carbs like rice, bread, potatoes, for the very end of your meal.
Okay, on to pillar 2, movement. Maybe the single most effective thing you can do is just take a brisk 10-minute walk right after you eat. Why? Well, because your muscles are basically like little sugar sponges. The second you start moving after a meal, your muscles start soaking up all that extra sugar from your blood to use for energy, which stops it from spiking in the first place. Plus, regular movement, especially strength training, makes your muscle cells way more sensitive to insulin. It helps unstick those locks. A good goal is about 150 minutes of activity a week, plus a couple of strength training days. And finally, pillar 3, the lifestyle tune-up. Because you just can't out-exercise a bad lifestyle. Getting less than 7 hours of good sleep can tank your insulin sensitivity. Chronic stress, just as bad, because that stress hormone, cortisol, tells your body to just dump more sugar into your bloodstream. And you know what? Even a small weight loss, just 5 to 7%, can make a monumental difference.
Okay, one last, really critical point. If you are experiencing things like crazy thirst, having to go to the bathroom all the time, or your vision is getting blurry, these are red flags. Do not wait. These are signs that your blood sugar might be dangerously high, and you need to see a doctor right away.
You now have the knowledge, you've got the tools to start fixing that sticky lock. The power is truly in your hands. So here's your challenge. Don't try to do everything all at once. Just pick one thing. Are you going to try the food sequencing hack? Or maybe that 10-minute walk after dinner? Just choose one pillar to focus on for the next 7 days. Because that first small step, it's always the most important one.